Update. Am I the a-hole for kicking my friend out of my vacation house in a foreign country? My family owns property in a tropical destination that is very popular this time of the year. My friends and I, all girls in our early 20s, have been talking about going to my parents' house for years, and this January was finally the season everything was aligning in our favor. An acquaintance of mine, Jessica, who is part of our larger group of friends, heard about the upcoming trip and asked to join us. I was reluctant at first, but she kept publicly insisting on it, saying that visiting this place was one of her childhood dreams, and it put me in an awkward position to say no. We then add her to our travel group chat and go over everything that was already decided in our itinerary and how much money we were planning on spending on this trip. She seemed excited about it and didn't want to change anything. Great. Unfortunately, things started to go south the moment she arrived here. Jessica bought a different flight from everyone else and would arrive at 3 a.m. I told her that she could either get a taxi to my house or wait at the airport until 10 a.m. when I would drive by to pick everyone else. She was not happy with that and was very passive-aggressive for the rest of the day. She then started to complain about our itinerary, how everyone we picked was too expensive, and she felt excluded and judged by the people there. We tried to compromise and did a few touristy things with her, but when we started getting ready to go to a beach club yesterday, she threw a fit. I reminded her that she knew about all of this before buying tickets, and that she wasn't forced to join us. She could stay home and eat the food my parents kindly stocked for us, or walk around the city center. When we come back home, I'm flooded with messages from our mutual friends asking why I'm being so mean to poor Jessica. Apparently, she took it to social media and created a narrative that she's a victim and we're bullies. I was sick of it. We had a fight where she called me terrible things, and it wasn't a perfect angel either, to be fair, and it ended with her being kicked out. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Absolutely not the a-hole, and it's time to tell the real truth to everyone ganging up on you. She created her own problems and try to blame you. She can just get herself back home. Not the a-hole. I am so glad that this is a story where people don't put up with obnoxious, selfish BS. Kudos to you. It is always best to trust your gut feeling. But after all is said and done, I think you handled this like a champ. Not the a-hole. From your post, it sounds like you tried to accommodate her. She really has poor form inviting herself on a trip she couldn't afford. She should be grateful she had a nice place to stay and that there were food for everyone. She looks like the fool making this a public issue, airing the dirty laundry. I would remain classy and if it really becomes an issue, recommend a good book on etiquette. Enjoy the rest of your vacation. She invited herself on a vacation and then complained that the itinerary was too expensive for her. I can't fathom getting a flight for a 3 a.m. arrival apart from the group and expecting to have someone other than a paid service available for my immediate pickup. She's self-absorbed and should have looked into the cost of the excursion/activities to see which ones she could afford before booking her red-eye flight. Not the a-hole. I'm going to assume that the argument escalated into her calling you nasty names, which is frankly unacceptable for a guest due to her host. She was treating your parents' house as if it were a VRBO that happened to be free and wanting all of your guests to be her wingmen on her dream vacation. It is not clear if she posted for your sympathy or have your mutual friends pressure you to do things her way. If you kicked her out essentially for airing her feelings on Facebook, then you are a bit the a-hole. If she was using it to bully you into doing her agenda, then she's even more the a-hole. And now for the update. Even though I was mainly judged not the a-hole, I feel bad about the way I handled it. Like many of you pointed out, it's my fault for allowing her to come in the first place. This country, and especially this specific location, is considered safe, but it's not idiot-proof. Something bad could have happened, and I would have blamed myself for it. I decided to be the bigger person and contacted Jessica earlier today after dropping my friends off at the airport. Our talk went really well. She explained that in the beginning, she was looking forward to our plans. She wanted to experience the glitz and glamour of the destination. In her head, she would go to the beach clubs with us. Guys would offer to buy her drinks and ask her out to dinner so she wouldn't have to pay for any of it. Unfortunately, reality didn't play out like that, and she started to grow resentful whenever one of us would get male attention. The final straw was when I wouldn't let her borrow a wetsuit from me when we went scuba diving as she wouldn't fit in any of our extras, and I didn't want them to stretch or break. She said that it triggered her imposter syndrome and body dysmorphia, so she didn't want to go to hotspots with us as it was affecting her mental health. I told her that while I understand where she's coming from, I hope she realizes that my friends and I are not in the wrong for sticking to our original itinerary and not catering to her insecurities. We didn't bully her once, and slandering us on social media for her own issues was unacceptable and unhinged. She genuinely apologized for her behavior, and she knew she was in the wrong. I also apologized for kicking her out in the heat of our fight and offered to pay for her hotel and any fees she had to pay in order to anticipate her flight. She thanked me and said that she would request the payment on a money app. Everything was going well until I saw the request for 5,000 euros. What? I texted her asking if this is the right amount. She said yes. I asked for receipts, she didn't have any. I asked for bank statements or any sort of proof, and she got angry and went back to being her rude, irrational self. I blocked her everywhere, and I won't talk to her ever again. Well, this took a turn at the end. You are clearly way better off without this person. They have shown that they will not take any accountability for their own a-hole behavior. That's not entirely true. She will totally feign accountability for financial gain. Not the a-hole. Again. 5,000 euros is probably the cost of her flights and all expenses for her failed dream vacay. Overall, you come across as empathetic, generous, and balanced, like a truly good friend. She probably just totally made a 5K amount up to try to fleece OP. Yeah, obviously, if after getting kicked out, she had 5K to drop on a hotel, she wouldn't have been complaining about how expensive stuff was before she got kicked out. Girl definitely thought she had another opportunity to use OP. She's like a family member that crawls out of the woodwork when you come into money, inherit from a will, or win the lottery. So much entitlement. Absolutely not the a-hole for anything. Haha, yeah. When my aunt won the lottery, the vultures started circling immediately. Going somewhere in the belief that you're going to get your drinks and meals paid for by someone else is not a good plan. Even at my hottest, I would never have dreamed of trying this. Maybe some girls can work it, but I'm too awkward. And if it doesn't work out, then you're just stuck somewhere feeling like a dummy with no money. Seriously, I'm amazed someone with self-esteem issues like she claims would bank on receiving this level of no-strings-attached opposite-sex attention. My parents weren't perfect, but I now realize that the weird lesson that people who don't love you don't give you stuff for free and that there's a catch, or it's a misunderstanding, was actually valuable. Last story. Update. Would I be the a-hole for suing my daughter-in-law? Original post. Our son and daughter-in-law, 26-year-old, they aren't married. Referring to her as daughter-in-law is just easier for the sake of storytelling. Have been together for 2 years and live together. We've always thought she's a very nice girl, and she seems to make my son happy, so no problem from us. Our son has his own law firm that he's currently trying to get started, and we're fortunate enough to help him with a startup loan, while daughter-in-law works a retail job that she's very happy with. Some time ago, husband and I were over at their apartment and we decided to order some food. Husband and I wanted to pay, and since daughter-in-law were ordering from her phone, we gave her our card so she could draw the money from our account. We thought it goes without saying this was to draw an amount once, for the lunch. However, daughter-in-law apparently put our card into her Apple Pay, and have been using it since. We didn't notice for some months, but recently saw withdrawals we didn't recognize. We had our accountant look into it and he discovered that 1, daughter-in-law has been using our card on her phone, and that 2, she's spent around $17,000. We were quite shocked and called her up and asked why the hell she's been using our card. She got very defensive, tries to deny it, and eventually said she was entitled to it. And why do we care since we haven't noticed her use over 4 months? We told her she needed to pay us back immediately or would report her actions for theft. She apparently doesn't have the money to pay us back. We've gone to our son and he's offered to pay us back, even though he actually cannot afford to. This isn't about the money for us, but more about the fact that she's stolen a huge amount of money. While we are comfortable and it took us time to notice, we still recognize the seriousness of stealing 17,000 US dollars. Our son has completely dismissed her behavior and excused it as her being stressed, while she's taken no responsibility. And we're honestly wanting to go forward with a police report to teach her consequences to her actions. Would we be the a-hole for doing this? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. 17K in theft is 17K in theft. Inexcusable behavior on her part. Don't sue, just report her to the cops. OP can and should do both. One, because her actions are criminal, and the second, to recover her money, not the a-hole. Right, not the a-hole. If the daughter-in-law is this entitled, I have a feeling one day she won't have a problem stealing from the son's law firm, or something else that could get him in serious trouble. The son is looking at things through rose-colored in-love glasses. But trusting a person like this can really ruin someone's life. Your son might be angry, but in the long run, you might also be saving him from a worse fate, OP. The audacity of this girl. I don't care who it is, how close I am to them, or how much money they have. Never in a million years would I ever steal like this. I wonder if she tried to tell the son it was an accident, and her phone just happened to save the card. She knew exactly what she was doing. A broke person doesn't blow 17 grand in 4 months. They're careful with their money. I don't spend that much money on myself in 3 years, let alone 4 months. This was no accident, OP. Press charges. Someone who steals is not a person you can ever trust to have in your life. I don't care if it's $20 or $20,000. When someone is dishonest like that and is comfortable being dishonest, you need to cut them out of your life. Not the a-hole. Your credit card will only reverse the charges if you file police report. Also, your son should make certain he is on solid birth control. I do not see this marriage lasting. If he is a lawyer, how can he tolerate a wife who steals? Not true. They can charge back any amounts up to a certain time since the charge was made. Most CC companies have a 90-day limit on chargebacks, some longer. A police report is not required. I work in law enforcement. If you report this to the police, they will take a report and forward charges to the DA. Usually then, the credit card cancels the debit portion as fraudulent. If you just chose to sue her civilly, you will still be liable for the debt. And even if you get a judgment, she may not pay it. I wouldn't give her any special pass to avoid criminal charges. This is good insight. Thank you. Please don't let this go. She will continue to steal from you if you do so. Next time is your jewelry missing from your house. This is not normal behavior. She's trying to deflect responsibility from you. Your son is very wrong for also ignoring this. I'm shocked to let her treat you this way. Now for the update. Thank you all for your feedback. I got many requests for an update, so here goes. We were utter and completely shocked with our son's nonchalant way of handling this, and at a loss. We desperately wanted to fight for our son, but since the initial confrontation, he had been avoiding us. We decided we would take the advice and call the police to press charges. However, we wanted to let our son know before doing so. Husband and I decided to show up at his office since he had been ignoring our calls and texts. I know this might sound boundary crossing to some, but we desperately wanted to talk to our son. Initially, he got angry and asked us to leave, but he calmed down and agreed to hear us out. We told him our side of the story, and to say the least, he was shocked. He apologized profusely, cried a little, and begged for forgiveness. He told us he was blinded by love, working 14 hours a day and under the impression we had gifted his girlfriend the money. His girlfriend had apparently told him that we wanted to spoil her as our future daughter-in-law, and that we gave her carte blanche to buy herself nice things as a way to welcome her to the family. And that we'd since changed our minds in spoiling her, and now wanted all the money back knowing she can't afford it. She had told him we did that as a manipulative way to force her out of his life, to try and control him. He was also under the impression she'd spent maybe 3 to 5K and not 17K. He was livid, and was actually the one who in the end convinced us to pursue legal action. He actually helped us call the police right then and there at his office after our talk. We then went with him home and helped him pack up all her stuff before she came home. She wasn't on the lease, living rent-free, so kicking her out was no issue. We offered to stay with him for the blow-up, but he wanted to handle it on his own. From what he's told me, she didn't take this lightly. So our son's ex has now been pressed with charges, and we're awaiting further information. Like some of you pointed out, it's a sufficient amount and she's been pressed with criminal charges. Our bank has also been informed, and we're told we'll likely get our money back. She blew up on the entire family, but no one but our other daughter-in-law is taking her side. Other daughter-in-law is a whole story for another time perhaps, but we are now glad to officially announce that we are thief-free in the family. We appreciate all your feedback, advice, and engagement. I had a previous roommate that I used her Amazon account back in the day. I didn't even think about making sure my card info was deleted. Even worse, I used my debit card. She waited 7 months and didn't make a charge until we got in a fight and she moved out. She charged over $1,200 in 3 days on the most random crap before I noticed. She blocked me and I had no way to contact her. I did have her mom's number in case of emergencies, and she's a wonderful woman. Paid me back for everything and last month's rent that I got stiffed with. Took 3 weeks though, and it was a tight 3 weeks to say the least. My mother-in-law put her card info on my Amazon account to buy my daughter something, and then we immediately deleted the info after the purchase went through. Months later, she mentions her card number got stolen, but luckily she caught it after only one $10 charge, and now her bank is investigating. Yeah, turns out even though we deleted her card info from my account, it was somehow made a default card for digital purchases. I seriously have no idea how it happened, and I was completely mortified. The worst part is, I think she still might not believe it was an accident because her other kids have scammed her before. Just had to get that off my chest. How dumb is this girl? Did she think that they would just be okay with that type of spending? That they would say, "No problem, girl," and that the son would just never speak to his parents again? That's exactly what she was thinking, with all the lies and manipulation she used. If not for Opie actually turning up and forcing the son to speak, she might have succeeded. On multiple occasions, my mom has given me her credit card to pay for food to be delivered. Never occurred to me to just keep using the card until I had run up thousands of dollars of charges. Sucks to be me.